Now if A is even, like, then it will execute this particular statement. Otherwise, if A is not even, then it will execute this particular statement. So for time being, A is equals to 28, which is particularly even. So this statement will be executed and exit will be happen. Okay. What else? What if the value was 27? Then this will follows this path. Okay. So if A is even, no, A is not even. So that's why it will print odd and then exit. But for this condition, it is A is even, so it will follows this path. Okay. So this is an example of that particular flow diagram. So how to do this particular, how to achieve this type of conditional statements in Python. Okay. So before so basically for this particular thing we have a syntax like this. So like you have to use a keyword if and then your condition. This expression is the is denotes the condition. On that condition, this particular true block is there, and if that condition fails, then we have to specify the false block. So you have to specify false block under this else statement. Okay. So if, then condition, then our true block, then else, then our false block. So this is our general syntax of the conditional statement. So while creating the conditional statements, you must keep in Python. Basically, you must keep some things in your mind when specifying the condition here, or we can say when specifying the expression, you have to end it with colon. Okay, this is mandatory. You have to end with colon. The condition must be ended with colon. Okay. After that, when you have, so as soon as you create, as soon as you type or end this expression using the colon, it Python will assume that the block is started. Block for the true block is started. Okay. So to specify your block, you have to specify some white space here before writing the statements. Okay, which is called as indentation. You have to specify some indentation for the true block. Okay, let's suppose there are four or five statements are there for the true block. Then you have to specify the necessary indentation here, and then you have to write the true block. The statements of your true block. Okay, then when your true block has been ended, then you have to remove the indentation, as you can see here. Then else, and again to create a block of false statement, you have to specify this colon, and for that block again you have to specify the indentation and then statements. Okay, so you have to keep this in mind. You have to the colon part and the indentation part. If you are going to miss anything, you will be getting some errors. Let me show you this. Okay, so let's suppose let's take an example. A equals to 28. Now what in general mathematics, what is the condition for the for a number to be even, that it must be fully divided by 2. Okay, if remainder is, when we are going to divide a number by 2 and the remainder is 1, then the number will be odd, and if the remainder is 0, then number will be even. Okay, so we have to so we can specify here the same thing. So I told you yesterday, like there is a nice operator which we call as modulus, which is a percent looking like symbol. Okay, so it is a modulus operator which gives us the remainder. Okay, so we can calculate the remainder. So first of all, we have to specify uh, if statement. Okay, so we can specify if, then we have to specify the expression. Okay, so expression will be if a mod 2. Okay, so if a is even, then it will completely divided and gives us 0 reminder. Okay, so we are just comparing if this reminder is equals to 0. Okay, now we have to specify this colon here, and then we have to specify this tab, or we can also add spaces here. Okay, just you need to make an indentation here. Generally we use tab for the indentations. Okay, so you have to specify some white space to specify the indentation. Now we can use here our statements, and okay, now, and if we can say we have multiple, then we have to use this. So this is our true block. You must keep in mind, like when you are going to specify indentation, then the same indentation must be specified for the other statements. You cannot do this. Okay, here this indentation is different with this indentation, and it will eventually give you an error. Okay, so you must specify the same indentation. Okay, now my true block ends here. Now I have to specify the else block, which is false block. So I have to again use the else and then the colon, and and again then this indentation here. Okay, now this is odd. Okay. So look, when I execute this, okay, so look, currently this 28 is even number. That's why we are getting an output of even number. Okay, but let's suppose make it 27, then we will get the output of odd. Okay, so you can see, we have what we have did, we have divided it, we have calculated the remainder here, and we are just comparing it with the particular remainder. If the remainder is 0, then it is a even number, and otherwise it is odd. Okay, now what if I if I omit this column? Okay, then you will get an error. Look, you are getting a syntax error, and error is stating that you have to specify colon, expected colon. Okay, so after your expression, you have to specify the colon. No matter you can specify space and then colon. That's not an issue. But you have to specify the this colon here. Okay, this specifies like the condition has been ended and the block of statements has been starting. Now, what if you do not uh, specify the same indentations with for the same block? Look, you will get an error, indentation error. Look what it states: an indent does not match any outer indentation level. Okay, because the very first statement has indentation of this level, you have to specify for the same indentation for all of the block of statements now. Okay, so you have to specify the same indentation. So you have to keep in mind the indentation thing and the colon thing. Okay, if you omit this any of these thing, then you will get an error. Okay, now basically this part is not mandatory. Okay, if you are going to specify only this, without the false block, it will eventually work. Look, okay. Now in this case, you have just specified the true block. If this condition will be true, then this statement will execute. Otherwise, nothing will happen. Otherwise, this will not execute. So that's why. So currently, this condition do not satisfies. So that's why we got empty. We there is no output. Okay, but if it will be satisfied, then the output will be your particular. The true block. Okay. So if you want to keep only true block, then you can keep. If you want to add a false block, then you can add the false block. Okay, so that's up to you, totally up to you. Okay, so uh, do you have any doubts till now? So now, basically, second thing is, yeah. So now, what if you want to specify multiple conditions? Here only we have one condition and two outcomes. Okay, so we can specify one condition, and then we can specify our two outcomes. But what if you have multiple outcomes based on the multiple conditions? How can you do that? So that is called as if-else chain. Okay, if-else chain. We can say a set of if-else statement, multiple if-else statements. If we specify, then that is called as if-else chain. Okay, so in that case, you can use this particular syntax. So what is it states? The if keyword, then our condition, then the true block one, then else if. So else if is shorthand here, and you have to specify elif. Okay, elif keyword, then you have to specify the condition two, then your true block two. Likewise, you can specify multiple true blocks on the basis of multiple conditions, or we can say expressions. After that, you have to specify the false block, the else block. Okay, so this is your general syntax for the if else chain. So we can see here some example here. Okay, so look, there is a there are two numbers. Let me just put here. Let's suppose there is a number one here, three, and number two here for. Okay. Now, if I want to check, like if these numbers are equal, then I want to print the equal numbers. If if number two is greater than number one, then I want to print number two. And if the number one is greater than number two, then I want to print number one. Okay, I want to do that. So I have to use multiple conditions. Why? Because I have specified three conditions here. If numbers are equal, then we have to print the equal number. If this is greater, then we have to specify number one, and if this is greater, then we specify number two. So these three conditions and these three these three set of outputs are there, or we can say set of tasks are there. So we can use here like if number one equals to number two, then print both numbers are equal. Okay. Now, if if number one is greater than number two, then number one is greater. Okay. And we can use this thing also here. If number two is greater than this, then this. Okay. This will also work. Or you can use here this else. Okay, you can use both. Either you can use this or you can use this. Okay, because eventually uh, both are same, because this is your last condition. So in the last condition, you do not need to check, because every other condition has been false. So now eventually your last condition is true. So you can specify the else block directly. But if you want to check again, then you can use this else elif. Okay. So that's not an issue. So now, Python. So look. So basically currently number two is greater than number one. So that's why we are getting this out. Okay. What if I make this, then it will give you number one. This, because number one is greater than number two. If I make this both numbers same, then you will get the first out. Both numbers are equal. Okay, you can do the converse of this also. Like let's suppose do this. Now look, the same output is there. Okay, so that's not an issue. You can specify for the last condition. You can specify the elif statement as well, and else statement as well. Okay, So this is what your if else chain specifies. Okay. So do you have any doubts till now in if else statements or conditional statements? So one more format is there, uh, which we call as nested statement. So let me give you an example. So let's suppose we have three numbers, number one, number two, number three. Okay. So let's make it 20. Okay. Now I want output, I mean, I want the greatest number among these three numbers. Okay. Which is the largest number? I want that out. So we can either use if else chain, or we can use the nested statements. First of all, I am showing you with the if else chain. After that, I will show you what is the nested chain. Okay. So I want you to create a program to find out the I mean, the largest number among the three numbers. So what you can do, you have to compare these three numbers all. Okay. So what we can do, if number one is greater than number two, and number one is greater than number three. Okay. I mean, if this is greater and this is also greater, I mean, number one is greater than both of the numbers, then we can print number one, or we can just use here number one is greatest. Okay. Likewise, we can use here elif. Now, if number two is greater than number one and number two is greater than number three, then number two is greatest. And then else, we can specify else here. Number three is greatest. Okay. So you can do this. So now if you run, so number two is greatest, we can see number two is greatest. Okay. Now if you want to convert this in the nested statements, then you can do that. So what is nested statement? You can use this if number one is greater than number two, then if so nested statement specify just specify the condition under conditions. Okay. So this is one of the condition, I mean, this is one of the conditional statement. And if you are going to specify any conditional statement here in the body of this particular conditional statement, or this conditional statement, or this statement, then that is called as nested statement. Okay. So here I have divided these two conditions into nested condition. Look. Okay. So now what I can see, if number one is greater than number three, then print number one is greatest. Okay. Else print number three is greatest. Okay. So this is converted into nested statement. Now else, if so, what else it signifies? Number two is greater than number one. So now if number two is greater than number three, then let me just copy it. Read number two is greatest, otherwise number three is greatest. So this code is converted into nested statement here. Okay, so nested statement is nothing but you have to specify if there are some conditions under conditions, then those are called as nested statement. So this will also work and this will also work. So now if you look, so number two is this. Okay. So you can so there are basically three formats are there for the conditional statements. First one is simple if, you can use. Then second one is if else. Then third one is if else chain. And fourth one is nested if else. I mean nested conditions. Okay. So do you have any doubts in conditional statements now? So let's start with the Python iteration, which we call as loops. So basically, loops are the block of statements where you can repeat the execution of code. Okay, let's suppose I want you to print hello world 10 times. Okay, I want you to print this hello world 10 times. What will you do? You will write 10 statements here. Okay, but I don't want you to repeat the statements here because this is a repetitive task. Why do I do this repetitive task? Okay, so instead of doing this repetitive task, you can use loops to achieve this. Okay, you if you want to print 10 times hello world, you can achieve using hello world. So any statements or any block of code, if you want to execute any block of code multiple times, then you can use the loops. Okay, like if you want to let's suppose there is a list. Okay, there is a list here. Okay, and I want you to write a code to print all of these elements individually. What will you do? You will specify here print a 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. So you can see there is a minor change, and after that and rest all of the operation are same. Okay, you have to repeat these set of lines to print every individual element from this list. Okay, so instead of doing this, you can use the loops. Okay, so loops is the third part of accessing the list, accessing the strings, accessing the tuples, dictionary sets. We have already, discussed, like we will, we have already seen like three types of we can access the elements using three methods: slicing, then indexing, and then the loops. Okay, so loops are the third part to access the elements, individual elements. Okay, so what is a flow diagram? So flow diagram is this. So basically, this is your start of the code. Now there is a condition. If that condition satisfies, then the true block will be executed, and again it will be sent out to that to check that condition. Okay, so likewise, until this condition do not false, this condition do not fails, this true block statement will be executed. So here this loop is happening. Okay, this condition is true, then true block will execute it. Then again condition is true, then again true block is executed. So this loop happens here, and as soon as the condition fails, it will get out from the loop. It will be just out of the loop at the exit block. Okay, so this is how your loop will behave. So for this, I have to introduce you with the range function. So basically, this range function is a generator. Okay, it is used to generate the numbers on the basis of these three criteria. Okay, so basically, using range function, you can generate n number of values. If you want to generate 10,000 of values, then you can specify the particular values here, and your 10,000 values will be generated. Okay, so let's suppose, so basically, we have these three arguments in the range function: start, stop, and step. Okay, so start is the starting position, or we can say starting value. Okay, from where we want to start the generating the number. Then stop, where we want to stop generating the number. So remember, every time you use stop, the range will generate stop -1. Okay, and step, when you are going to generate the numbers between start and stop, what will be the step? What is the difference between two numbers generating? Okay, so let me show you the different formats of the range function. So let's suppose, so basically this, and for to use this range function, you have to use loops. Okay, So basically I am just going to introduce the for loop. I will show the different formats and syntax of the for loop in later part. Just to demonstrate range, I am using the for loop. Okay, so look here, for I in range, here I am using range 10. So what it will generate, it will generate numbers from 0, 1, 2, 3, okay, and up to 9. Stop minus, I mean 10 minus 1. So eventually, when you are specifying this only single number, the Python will assume that you have given the value for stop argument. Here, stop argument. Here, okay, this argument is stop. So, and I mean, Python will assume the this as a stop argument, and it will assign start argument as 0 and step argument as 1. Okay, so when you are specifying only 10 here, okay, then I mean only one number here, then Python will assume that you have specified the stop argument, and this is our stop argument, and it will automatically assign the start argument as 0 and step argument as 1. Now you can, if you are going to print I, then you will see number from 0 to 9. So this range function has generated values from 0 to 9. Likewise, if you want to generate up to 1000, then you can use the same. Look, 0 to 999. Okay. So this is what range function do. But when we specify two numbers, let's suppose I have specified 30 and 40. Now, in this case, Python will assume 30 as the start argument and 40 as the stop argument, and still it will automatically assign step argument as 1. So now if you'll see here, look, you have start argument is 30 and stop argument is 40. So it will generate the numbers between 30 to 39. Okay, so this is another form. Now if you specify here some step size, let's suppose I have specified 2, then now step argument is 2. Now it will make a difference, I mean it will skip one number in between generating these numbers. So look, so now output will be 30, then 32, then 34, likewise. Okay, so sorry, I have not saved this. Yeah, look, 30, 32, 34, 36, and 38. Okay, because it will run up to stop minus 1. Stop minus 1 will 39, but when you are going to skip after 38, 39 will be skipped. So that's why it is not printed. So this is how your range function behaves on the basis of different arguments. Okay. So do you have any doubts in the range function? So now, uh, so first of all, as we have understood the range function, we will use this range function in a very short period. So now there are two types of loops in our Python. First one is for loop and second one is while loop. Okay. So basically the most often we use is for loop. In Python, most popular is for loop, but sometimes while loop is also used. Okay. So basically the syntax for creating a while loop is, first of all you have to initialize a loop counter. Okay, because I will show you the benefit of this loop counter. Okay, in when we'll be using while loop, and then the while keyword and the statement here, I mean expression, which is a condition, and then the block of the statements, and then change in the loop count. Okay, so this is your general syntax of while loop. Now let's see what is initializer counter and all. So let's suppose I'm using any counter c equals to 10. Okay. Now according to our syntax, I'm using while and then an expression. So look here, while c is smaller than 20. I have specified this. I want to print C, and now uh, C equals to C plus 1, or I can also use here shorthand plus equals to 1. Okay, so now you can see what I did. I am starting from 10. Okay, and I am checking if C is smaller than 20. So run, for the first run or first loop, 10 is smaller than 20, it will print the value of C. And then we are incrementing the value of C. Now, uh, at this step, C is equals to 11. Okay. Now it will again check this condition. Again, 11 is smaller than 20. Again, it will print the C. Now again, C is updated and now it is 12. Again, this condition will be checked and again this will be executed. Likewise, when C is equals to 19 or when C is equals to 20, it will goes here. Now 20 is smaller than 20. No, it is a false. As soon as this is a false, you will this program will end. So I should use here print z, so you can see like okay. So as soon as this will this false statement, this statement will be false, you will get output as exit. So now while creating the loops as well, you have to specify the colon after the condition and then the block of statements. And for the block, you have to specify the particular indentation. Okay, always remember when you are going to specify any expression in conditional statements or loops, you have to specify the colon and the indentation. This indentation indicates, okay, this is under this particular block of statement. Okay, so now look, first of all, C was 10. Okay, so print C. 10 is smaller than 20, so 10 was printed, and after that it is updated. C is updated. Again, the condition has been checked, and again the condition satisfied, so this body will execute it. Likewise, when C is 19 here, 19 will be printed, and now C is equals to 20 here. So this condition is false, and as soon as this condition is false, our program will get out of this loop, and the next statements will be executed. So this is how your while loop behaves. So what is this is your initialize counter. Initialization of counter. Okay, and this is a increment, updation or change in. Okay, so why, in while using loops, why these, these are not necessary, but what if you omit this? Let's suppose I omit this particular. Now you can see this particular loop will run indefinitely. Why? Every time your loop will execute, C is equals to 10. There is no change in 10. So every time your condition will be satisfied and every time it will print this. Look, it will run indefinitely. It will never stop. The program will never stop. Why? Because this condition is true forever. There is no change in 10. So 10 is always smaller than 20. That's why. So that's why this change in counter was there. So that this loop will not run indefinitely. Okay. Now, second thing, if you are not using this counter, then how, on which thing you have to specify this condition? Okay. So you must specify any counter here, or you must specify a loop starter. We can say it is a loop starter. On that particular loop starter, we have to specify the condition. Okay. So this is the significance of the loop counters to control the execution of the loop. Cool. So do you have any questions in while loop? Okay. So now next is for loop. So basically, for loop is much popular in Python world. In other programming languages, while loop is also used. Uh, uh, very frequently, but in Python, for loop 95% or 96% times you will be using the for loops only. Okay, you will rarely see the while loops in your Python code. Okay, why? Because this particular loop, I mean, do not have this type of complexity like to initialize the counter, to specify any expression, the loop changer. Okay, I mean counter changer. It is just a straightforward. Okay, so basically, most of the time you will be taking the data out of your what we say your iterator objects. Iterator object means uh, the list or tuple or dictionary. These all are the iterator object. The objects or the variables which contain multiple values is called as iterator object. Okay, so basically, I mean, 95, 96% times you will be just taking out the data from your iterator objects on. Okay. So for that, either you can use the while loop or you can use the for loop. And for loop is very simple. For loop is much more handy instead of while loop. It is not that complex. Okay. So that's why for loop is used. So basically, to use the for loop, you have to use for, and then you have to create a variable here which will eventually contain the value of iterator. Okay, when you are going to when you are taking out the values from the iterator object, okay, then each value which will be taken out from that iterator will be assigned to this variable. Okay, then you have to specify here in keyword, which is a in operator, not a keyword. In is a operator. Okay, so for the variable in this iterator object, and then colon and the block of statements. Okay, so let me show you this. So let's suppose I have created a list here, one, then okay. So look, I have created one iterator object which is a list. Now I want to, if you are going to print like this, print A, then you will get the data in one line. But I want you to print each item differently. I mean each item in a separate line. Okay. So now what you can do? You can use here loops. For let me just call my variable I in A. Okay, or you can use anything where anything. I mean this variable I have created. So what it does, it will just take out values from this iterator object and assign that value to this variable. Okay, now if you see here for where, then look, every item has been used here. I mean every item has been taken out from the list. Okay, so this is what for loop is. Okay. Now, let's suppose if you and if let's suppose if you want without loop, if you want to do this, how you can do, like you have to specify print a 0, a 1, 2, 3, okay, 4. Okay, look. So this is same. So here you were executing multiple statements, right? Here you were repeating these statements. Okay, but what if this list contain thousands of items? So are you going to specify those thousand statements? No. Okay, you have to find out some mechanism to just shorten the code. Okay, so just that's why you are using here this loop. Okay, so this is same. Okay, these both are same. So that's how you will use the for loop. So, do you have any questions now for the loops and all? I mean, for loop and while loop. Okay. Now we have, I mean, this is same for the tuple also. If you are creating the tuple, then this will work same. Okay, the syntax is very same, just the difference of the tuple and list. Okay, that's not a. Now, if you are using any dictionary, okay, so what happens? So basically, in dictionary, I mean, like this list and tuple are indexed, numeric indexed, but dictionary is not the numeric indexed. Dictionary is the key indexed, or we can say key value pair. Okay. So let's suppose, let me create a dictionary here. Key, key one, value one, something like this. Okay. Six, six. Okay. So basically, this is a dictionary. Now, there is no numeric index found here. Okay, how will you take the data from dictionary? So, we have already seen three types of functions. First one is keys, second one is values. Okay, and third one is items. Eventually, you will be using items function most of the time, but I will be showing these two as well. So, look, if I will use for key in dictionary dot keys, what it will do, you already know the keys function is used to list out all of the keys from the dictionary. So you can see here, if you print k, then you will get all of the keys here. But I want you to print all of the values as well along the key. Then what you can do, comma, key, sorry, a, and then key. Because every key is located in k, right? When you are using this loop, and you can do this. I mean, like if you want to filter out this value one, then you can do this a, then key one. You can specify this, and k contains this key one, key two, key three, key four, because of this loop. So now you can use this a k. This variable is dynamic now. Okay, so okay. Likewise, if you want to filter out the values only, then you can use the values here. Values. Now, from values, you cannot find the keys. Okay, from values, you cannot find the keys. Okay, from keys, you can find the values, but from values, you cannot find the keys. Okay, so now look, these are the values. But when you are using items here, then you can use items. Now, if you are going to print this, you will get the key value pair. It means you are getting two values in each iteration. I mean, in each loop, like when this loop will run first time, you will get key and value pair as a tuple, two values here. Okay, so what you can do, you can use here like this, a comma v, because we are getting two values, right? We are getting two values in each iteration, so we can use. I mean, this is called as unpacking. We are unpacking this. Okay, this, when we have used this particular one variable only. Okay, so this was packed. Okay, this was packed into single variable here. This is packed into single variable. But if you want to unpack these multiple values, then you can use the here, I mean, key. So I mean, you can use the two variable because you are getting two values here. So now these values are unpacked. Now you can do this key comma. Notice the difference. This is one object and this is another object single. This is single other another object. Okay. So this is called as packing and unpacking. When you are when your function returns multiple values, but you use only one variable to capture that, then that is called as packing. And if you are and if the function is returning multiple values and you are using the multiple variables there to capture those values, then that is called as unpack. Okay, let me show you this. Let's suppose this items function gives only two values, but what if we specify here three variables? Okay, where you will get an error. Look, not enough values to unpack. This is what is packing and unpacking, because your function was returning only two values, but you try to unpack those two values into three values, you are getting an error. Not enough values to unpack. Okay, so you have to look into. I mean, this is what items function. Okay, so this is how you will filter out your data from the dictionaries using these three functions. So now, do you have any questions in this dictionaries and loops and all? Okay, so let's stop our class here up to loops and conditions. Tomorrow we will be learning about the functions, and after functions we will be our Python basic Python will be completed, and then we will start our basic SQL, and then we will start our GCP. Okay, so thank you all.